Welcome to another episode of Behind the Bar podcast, brought to you by the coaches and clients of RT Fitness Durham, Sunderland, and of course the Barbell Club, where we take you from complete beginner to photo shoot ready. If you want any information at all on our programs, click the link below and book a call in with us. So on today's episode, we have the incredible Katie Bulmer Cooke, who's been in the fitness industry for over 20 years now. She started out watching her mum when she from four years old, and then jumping straight into it from a very young age, 16, and all the way to now. And it's just an incredible story. She has done everything you can think of, from one-to-one to group training to selling off a franchise, and then she did TV work, went and applied, got on The Apprentice and was in The Apprentice show. She did that, which opened more doors into TV work, and she's just helped people from day one. So we talk even about our new company, Sports Bra Wear, for that, and what else was it? There was so much we covered, and it was pre and postnatal stuff and about the care what women should get afterwards after they've had a baby. She's also had 2 kids. She's a mother of 2 as well, and just to fit it all in this crazy ride what she's been on, and it was really nice to talk to her and get her perspective of all that journey what she's had throughout. So please, if you haven't already, like the channel, share it with your friends and subscribe to it. So yeah, just watch it, enjoy. Hello, Katie. So who is Katie Bulmer Cooke?
Oh God, how long have you got? Well, I'm a fitness professional. I'm a mum. I'm a wife. You know my husband.
Yes.
I've been a fitness professional for 20 years.
Right.
Which is quite scary. I started as a group fitness instructor, became a PT. My career's gone in lots of different directions. Like, I don't think there's many things in fitness that I haven't done. But I've enjoyed it all.
Right.
I'm still here, still doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that pretty much sums me up.
Right, okay. So when, oh, you've said 20 years, but yeah, so when and how did you start in the fitness industry? So like, how did you go to that path?
Well, it probably started when I was about 4 or 5, and not
right.
teaching classes.
Yeah.
So my mum has always been and still is a group fitness instructor. She still is now.
Dave Lloyd's or not?
No, she's
right.
She's Everyone Active now.
Right.
But when I was growing up, there wasn't places like gym, like big gyms, clubs and things. So most people who used to teach group classes were in the community. So my mum used to hire a church hall, and she used to like promote her own classes by putting leaflets through people's doors. And putting adverts in papers and stuff, like all the things that we would never do now, but was the only way to get the word out there.
Right.
So she used to teach these classes, and I used to go along and sit in the corner. And it was back in the days when it was all leg warmers, leotards, push down socks, like
step classes.
Yeah, step classes. But hey, the steps were wooden boxes.
Right,
so
okay.
my granddad actually made me mum's step boxes,
Brilliant.
like by hand.
Yeah.
So I'm painting a picture as if I'm like 105 here. I'm not. I'm 36. But that was when it started. So I used to watch my mum teaching her classes, and honestly, there was never anything else on my radar. Like, I was always going to do fitness. I just wanted to be like her.
Right.
Like, stood at the front of the class. And now we talk in fitness a lot about aesthetic changes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was still a thing back then. But the thing that captured me in fitness was like the atmosphere and the friendships and the buzz, and how when everyone was together, like there was just this amazing feeling. And because it was group fitness and it was like aerobic-y and everyone was moving to the music, that was what was the big draw for me. There was no real talk of, like people losing weight and all that sort of stuff. It was very social and very about, well, it was called a keep fit class. It was about people keeping fit. So I wanted to do that. So fast forward to being 16, my mum said, I was desperate, I was absolutely desperate to do it. I wanted to qualify, and she said, there's a course going to run like in Sunderland. It was 250 quid to qualify to be a group fitness instructor.
Right, okay.
And she said, if you want to do it,
And this was straight out of school?
I was still, had I left school? I think this was like the summer. This was the summer of leaving school.
Right, okay, yeah.
And if you really want to go and do it, I'll pay for it for you. It was like for a birthday or a Christmas present, like early birthday or early Christmas present. And when it actually came down to it, I was thinking, God, no, I can't stand up in front of all these people and do this. And I nearly bottled it.
Right.
But like she gave us a little nudge, and I went and did this course, and at 16, I was qualified to teach group, which is a bit mad. And that's how it all started. So I then basically went and replicated what I'd watched my mum do. So we're still talking. Yeah. There was no like Facebook, no Instagram, none of that stuff to promote yourself. So I went and found, like my mum did, a venue, hired it.
Oh, did you? Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Because at that point there was like a big local health club and there was like smaller gyms I could have gone to, well I tried to go to, but everybody said I was too young and didn't have enough experience. So I was in that sort of middle bit of, well, I can't get in there, so I want to do it. I'm going to have to do it myself. Like I wasn't naturally this sort of, I'm going to go and be my own boss person. I just thought that's the only option. So I went and hired like a space, and then just text all my friends and said, like, you have to come, you have to bring like your mums, your nanas, your aunties, your grandmas, whoever. And like turned up for my first class and there was 10 people there. And I can honestly say I've never been so nervous in my life.
Right.
And I think people don't believe us when I say this, but I still get nervous to stand up. And
right, yeah.
That feeling's never left us. It's just sort of like dampened down. But I honestly think that I still get it because I care about the experience that everyone's going to have. Like I still care as much now as I did like all that time ago, and that's where it started.
Mad. So do you remember the class, that first class?
Oh yeah, and I remember all day before I went, like I'd made my routine.
Right.
And I was literally teaching my routine in my bedroom wall. I had me tape, my cassette tape on, my aerobics music, and I was just talking.
So was it an
loud.
aerobics class as well?
Yeah,
was it?
Oh, that was what everything was then. So there wasn't HIIT classes. There wasn't like. It would be
boot camps weren't even around then. It was a few years later, wasn't it?
Like quite a bit later. It was all aerobics, circuits. Like that was really it.
Was your classes? Exercise. Yeah, it was like your classes. What's in? I mean, they're still in there now, aren't they? Like
they're still in there now. Like I think at the core of every class, there's an aerobic curve of some description.
Yeah.
And that's what an aerobics class was always built around, and there was always some conditioning in there at the end, like some squats, press ups. So it's just evolved. I would like to see the return and like the resurgence of like the traditional aerobics class, because it was always a flipping good workout. And I think now we've all got to try and make everything all singing, all dancing, and a bit more entertainment.
Trying to stand out, isn't it?
Because it's way more crowded. I mean, back then, I could have literally named you everyone in Sunderland that was a fitness professional. And I'm talking personal trainers and group instructors. Back then, probably between the age of 16 and 22, I knew everybody.
Yeah.
If they were teaching fitness, I knew them because there wasn't many people. But now, it's just like, it's major.
Would you say that's because of the ease of the internet to get qualifications then? Like, because I remember even then, like, I remember there was only a handful of people. I didn't know anybody personally. I mean, there was only you who were on my radar, but because Simon was chasing you.
Thank you for dropping that in.
but it was, that's how I knew, that's how, like, and then from there, like, I didn't know anybody. But then all of a sudden, like, everybody was like, they did training for a few months and then that was it. There were a class cover.
It's much easier to get into now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good thing. I think it's great that lots of people can make careers out of fitness because it's a very rewarding industry to be in.
Yeah.
But I think now the standard upon entry is not what it was.
No.
And I'd love to see the whole industry be a little bit more like governed, like have a governing body that's a bit more stringent and
like a proper governing body, because it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
Like literally anybody can turn up and do a course for 6 weeks online.
And say they're a personal trainer, yeah.
And that doesn't mean that there won't be a great trainer in the future. But I just think standards from the start could be better.
Well, we get people, when we hire, for people here, they're saying, I've just passed my level 2, and it's like, I was on the phone to somebody, it was like, look, I need you to be able to spot people on benches, deadlifts and stuff like that. Well, I did it in my course. It was like, so you don't actually do it in real life? No. Yeah. It's like...
It's hard because people, I remember what it was like, say, to be 16 and no one would give us a chance.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's got to be given a chance, but I just think it should be harder to pass.
Yeah.
I've worked as an assessor.
Oh, have you? Right, okay.
For both level 2 and level 3.
Right.
And there are some people that come through and you're like, God, I know you're going to be brilliant. Like you've got that like X factor thing.
Right.
And there are some people that I think you could really benefit from going away and just getting some like real world experience.
Yeah.
Go and shadow a PT, go and get a bit of time on the gym floor, then come back and do this and you'd have a totally different experience.
Well, fucking hell. I didn't know you did that as well.
Yeah.
Gee, I mean, what have you done? Like, I've got, because I was impressed years ago, you said, I'll look back on the Little Black Dress Club, but that you sold that off as a franchise?
I did, yeah.
How the fuck?
That was a real turning point for me, and it opened a lot of doors for. So the Little Black Dress Club was small group training.
Right.
And it was born out of, I'd had my little girl Heidi, who's now 12.
Right.
And at the time, before I had Heidi, I was PT and teaching loads of group, and I was working a lot of hours. Like, you know what it's like in fitness, it's like a lot of hours, and it's often unsociable hours when everybody else is free. And when Heidi was born, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't manage the childcare. I want to be with her. I need to leverage my time a bit more. So I thought, right, I'm going to start trying to do small group. So Little Black Dress Club was for busy women who had the goal of getting back into the little black dress that like, most of us have got in their wardrobe. And it was basically small group PT. And when I launched it, it did really well because small group at the time wasn't really a thing.
It was 1-to-1, 2-to-1
max,
wasn't it?
Or a big group class. So after it did well, I thought, right, now how can I scale it? And I was speaking at a few fitness conventions and conferences and things, and people had been asking us about it. And I thought, right, there's interest from other trainers. They want to learn how to do it. Well, I could give them a model that works.
Right.
So that's what I did. I licensed it to different places across the country.
Globally?
So we ended up in, oh God, how many? I can't remember.
I don't know if it's in my head. Was it Japan one or something like that? Or was one Far East or not?
I just made that up? No, you will have seen Japan somewhere. So I've sold online programs in Japan, but for the Little Black Dress Club, I was in Canada, and then multiple locations in this country.
Right.
Yeah, but that became a monster to manage. I was probably a victim there of growing too quickly. Okay. So it was very scalable, but then I scaled it and I was like, oh, I'm on my own doing this.
Yeah.
And in the end, I had to change the model and make it more of a package that I sold to trainers and then they took forward on their own.
Right, okay.
Because I think for every new licensee that comes on board,
right,
it's generating more work, it's more people to support. And I was only one person trying to do that, so I thought I'd just, again, pull on your time. I need to change this and just do it a little bit differently.
So you took something what was going to take you, like, less than your time, and then it made more work.
Created a monster.
What happened to that now then, or is like?
So I just created it as a package that
okay.
trainers could take, and they could have all the branding, they could have all the assets that went with it, and then they could run it on their own.
Right.
So I know that some people still do run it, which is cool, yeah. Or some people have learned from it and then used that to develop their own thing, which is also really cool.
Right.
So either way, whatever's happened to it with different trainers that took the package,
still floating.
It still had some influence on people that are like spread out across the world, which is a nice thing.
Meant? Right, I've got loads of things. TV, I'm not The Apprentice, the other TV stuff, because I remember, Was it a cooking show type thing? No.
I've done a couple of things on, there was a local channel that was here for a while called Made in Tyne and Wear. After I did The Apprentice, I got, it did open lots of doors for us.
Right, okay.
Because as well.
So that was after The Apprentice?
That was after The Apprentice because
yeah.
I had something to show people that I could speak to a camera.
But you were always doing stuff for years?
Yeah, but there's a difference between like me and my little camera and like being able to do it on national television.
Right.
And I think it was that sort of that stamp of approval that helped us open a couple of doors. So I did it. I did a couple of shows. I did the first one was called Total Tone Up. So that was taking people from the northeast and helping them achieve their health and fitness goals and tracking their progress along the way. So that was like...
And that was a show?
That was a show, full show, like different characters, track their journeys. And the one I did after that was Chatty Lasses. Right. Which had a bit of a loose women vibe. So it was me and 3 other girls from the northeast. I used to host it. And we had just different guests on. And that was so interesting. Like getting to know different people and like what they're all about and their backstory. So that wasn't fitness related. And then I co-hosted Fit in the Kitchen with Joe Sexton.
Yes.
And that was, again, different guests on, cooking healthy meals with Joe, who is a much better cook than I am. I was all about the chat.
Does he have a big cooking channel?
Yeah, yes, fat loss feasts. And yeah, he's really good at that sort of stuff. So yeah, I did that with him. All like really good experiences. I'd actually forgotten about that.
Right, okay.
Thanks for reminding us. I really had forgotten about it.
Thing is, like, because I've never actually seen an episode of The Apprentice myself. That's the thing, I've never actually watched it. I knew you were on it, but I remember flicking through the channels and it was like, and that was on, like, I seen you on there one time. So that's
Apprentice
where
happened, and then that was shortly after.
Right.
But going back to the Little Black Dress Club, I'm convinced that being able to talk about that business model was one of the things that helped us onto The Apprentice.
Right. So how was that experience then? I mean, I know you've probably been asked that before, but how was it?
That was the best and the hardest thing that I've ever done.
Right.
And it's really interesting because, you know, when you're in your own little sphere and your own business and you've not got anyone to compare yourself to, you don't always know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So since being 16, I've not been part of a team. It's always just been me. So I didn't know if I was good at sales, if I was a good marketeer, if I was a good leader, if I was terrible at all of those things.
Yeah.
But then you get on there, and I remember the first day meeting all the other people. And I don't know if it's a north-south thing, because I think all the people in my experience that were from the south were really good at like talking themselves up, and they were really confident.
Right.
And I remember standing just thinking, shit. Can you swear on this, by the way?
Yeah.
Like, what have you done? What have you done? Like, you've made a huge error accepting this opportunity.
Them were probably thinking the same though.
Well, they weren't showing it.
Right.
And I lay in bed that night, and honestly, I was like shaking like that, and I thought, you've either got to really pull your socks up here and just grit your teeth and go for it, or you will die a slow and painful death on national television.
You fucking did it though.
And excuse me, I did it, but it was really hard. And it, for a while, changed as a person afterwards.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time arguing. Because
what, afterwards?
During the process,
right.
Everything's an argument. And everything says stand up for yourself. You've got to have a voice.
Okay.
Because if you don't stick up for yourself, nobody else is going to. Like, literally nobody has got your back. Because everyone's out for themselves. So I remember coming out of it, and bearing in mind I haven't been home for 10 weeks. I've just been...
Was it?
Yeah, I've just been in that environment, like fight or flight for ages. And my mum was having she had a guy out putting some doorknobs on all our doors in the house, and one of them wasn't straight. And I was like, you want to get him told about that? Excuse me? I said, it's not on right. I went, shall I tell him? And she went, what's happening to you? And she went, you would argue that black is white at the minute, wouldn't you? And I was like, yeah, what about it? Like, I was very, very, like, just up a height, argumentative, very defensive, and it took us a long time to come out of that.
10 weeks straight. a lot of people on the Apprentice, like very salesy type people, like everything they're trying to one up or not.
Oh yeah, and then it's funny because you work as a team to win this task, but then if you don't win, you just throw each other under the bus, and then you go home and live with each other.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
What, like in the same hotel, like
same house?
Oh, same
like
house.
A big house. Share rooms with people that you hate.
Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, it's just it's actually quite an interesting social experiment.
Right.
And you don't have a phone and stuff, and you can't just leave.
No wonder you.
I was like one day, so can I go for a run? You know, because you would, if you felt like you were super stressed, you would either come home and you'd unload to your partner or your parents or a friend. Can't do that. Or you'd go and exercise, because we all know how good exercise makes us feel.
Right.
And I was like, can I just get out for a run? No, because you were chaperoned everywhere, so no run.
Is that in case you spoke to anybody like about? Or...
Yeah, and also because you didn't have a phone and stuff. And
right.
Like if you got lost, what if they lost you? How would you explain why you were there and what you were doing? So it was a really hard, but it just made us feel, once I got through that, like, anger thing after, it just made us think, God, you've put yourself through that, like you can't actually do anything.
Anxiety these days, but that for you to put yourself that to then grow, I mean, fucking hell, like if you said if you do that, you can do anything.
I felt this incredible, I mean, I don't know if this is anxiety or what, like this incredible knot in my stomach every day from the day I stepped foot into that process.
Right.
And for many days after, and then that was amplified on the day that it came out that I was going to be on the show, because you film the show, it's a few months gap where you've got to tell a lie about where you've been.
Right. All your clients give me everything.
Yeah, so I had to tell everything. My cover story was that I'd been asked to train a celebrity client in Marbella, and I'd gone to Marbella.
Right.
I'd have a spray tan when I came back.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because they were never going to believe us. And then the day it came out, I was so worried about what people were going to say.
Right.
Like,
but I bet it was all been positive.
It has.
Yeah.
There was one particular week where I'd had a big argument, and I thought, if they show that, I don't think I'll be shown in the best light. But they didn't show it, so...
Oh, did they not?
Hey ho.
So every episode were you like bricking it?
I was, because you've no idea what they're going to show. Are they going to show
the snips and the edits, yeah.
Yeah, because like it must be really hard for them to edit. You filmed all of this task that's like a long time.
Yeah.
And then you've got to get it down into an hour's episode. It must be really hard for them to edit.
That's
so
not
you
your
always
job,
think,
don't worry about
what
that.
what's it going to come across like? But yeah, it was really positive. It changed our lives, to be fair.
Right.
It did.
All for the better?
Yeah. It opened doors to do things like those TV shows we talked about that I probably could have done, but it was just easier to open the door to.
Right.
Yeah.
So did that... I don't even think I've got it on there, but it's just come to my head. You toured with someone from The Biggest Loser? Am I right or wrong in that one?
Yeah, that was before The Apprentice.
Oh, was it? Right, okay.
Yeah, so I got to know Kevin, who won The Biggest Loser. I can't even remember what year this is. And he wanted to reach out and help more people do something like what he'd done.
Right.
So we teamed up and we went and did a couple of locations where he did a really good motivational talk. I mean, what a story.
Did he?
What a story and what an achievement to have lost all that weight. So he was very inspiring. And then I would lead a workout.
Right, okay,
would
right.
hopefully
Yeah.
give people the bug to like get into exercise and yeah.
Ah.
You've remembered all of these things?
I didn't even have...
About. What else is on that sheet?
What have I got? Postnatal small group. I did just see on your Instagram that you were doing them. So that's now. But I remember you were doing that even before you were, because you were qualified in that well before. Like you were even pregnant with Heidi.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I actually did when I was at uni. I did one of my assignments was on that topic,
right.
And I remember being really interested in it about like how a female's body changes and what that means for them in terms of exercise. And I was coaching exercise and pregnancy clients like, even before I had Heidi.
So were you doing even that, say, well, you said from uni, so from 18 then?
18, 19, yeah.
Mad.
Which is actually weird when you look back that it was actually nice that people at a very special time in their lives put their trust in me as somebody who was very young and had not had the same experience that they were going through. It's quite a nice feeling, that, actually, and it'd probably be pretty brave on their behalf.
Right, yeah, because I think there's not very many people who's actually in that realm, I don't think, or not what I can see, maybe, I don't know.
I have some quite strong feelings on that, about as a part of someone's like life and their life as somebody who enjoys fitness, because obviously when people are pregnant, it's really important that they're doing the right things, but afterwards is probably even more important, because you're trying to put yourself back together again, and so much has changed.
We had to put you back together, didn't we?
You'll notice so much has changed, and the postnatal care in our country there's not a lot of focus on the mum. So anybody that's been, and anyone that's had a baby and then's gone for like their 6, 8, or some people have a 12-week postnatal check, they'll check the baby over, answer any questions you've got about the baby, and then usually they'll turn to mum and say, how are you? And because we're all very British, we go, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then in my case, both times I was asked, and are you depressed?
Well, they asked
straight out asked us, am I depressed? And what's our default answer? Because we're all very British and like, let's just pretend everything's fine. We all go, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Either because we want to be seen to be all right, and we see everybody else being all right, so we think I should be too, or because we don't know. We might, especially if it's your first baby.
It's quite a broad question, that, isn't it?
Rather than asking people a series of questions that might help you think, oh, a couple of red flags here, I think this person could do with some help, straight in at the deep end. So I think that's an issue. And then there's no physical assessment for mum.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I think at most, I was asked by a midwife if I was still bleeding. That's a very important question that any fitness professional should be asking when somebody returns to them after they had a baby. Quite a personal question, but it's one that should be asked. And then nobody is looking at abdominal separation and talking about pelvic floor function. So then what normally happens...
They give you a handful of exercises, though.
They give you a handful of exercises if you ask.
No, you didn't, did you? Right.
You have to really drill them. If you ask them for exercises, the default answer is just make sure you do your pelvic floor. Now, if I said that to most people, they'd go, all right, I'll stop myself having a wee, and they'll lift their eyebrows like that. I'm doing it now.
I did it there.
Cool. Men can do it, you know. Yeah. Men can do it. What does that actually mean to most people? Stop myself having a wee.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it. So then a typical question that mum will ask is, so can I go back to exercise? Can I go back to the gym?
Generally too early.
Yeah, generally too early, without any proper guidance. And the answer from the healthcare professional is usually yes, but take it easy. And take it easy for one person is so different to take it easy for the other person. What have you been doing through your pregnancy? What were your fitness levels like? What type of delivery did you have? How are you feeling? Have you stopped bleeding? Have you got abdominal separation? None of it's covered. So, like Mrs. X will then return to her fitness class that she used to go to before, and she'll say, I'm back. And the trainer will say, oh, great, you've just got to take it easy. And it's just a minefield. Like, to me, the journey should be, if you're already exercising, keep doing it at the point of pregnancy. Then if your fitness professional that you work with is qualified, stick with them, they'll look after you. If not, go on a secondment to someone else who is.
Yeah.
Stick with them after you've had your baby, and then they will return you back to your original trainer. That's how it should be.
Yes, it's hard because, I mean, you probably yourself, where you get people messaging us, like, literally the day after they've given fucking birth, and saying, like, look, I think I'm going to be okay in a few weeks, and it's like, we're saying it's a minimum, like, we have to say it's a minimum of 6 weeks, and you need to be really signed off by your doctors from there. But it's some people who we've never even coached. I mean, it's very rare that they do start, is it? I think isn't it? Would you say so?
We tend to have more while, like obviously where they've been long term with us, and then they fall pregnant and they stick with us.
Yeah, and we can look after them because we know where they're at. I mean, we just end up sticking to the same weights. We don't push them or anything like that. They hate us for it because they think they can do so much more, but we have to look after them. But we actually, I mean, you might get it. I mean, I don't know. Do you ever get people who find out they're pregnant and then want to start training?
Yes.
You do?
We
don't take them on.
That's a zone all of its own.
Right.
So, yes, people can exercise and start exercising when they find out they're pregnant. And actually, it's a really nice thing that they want to be fitter and healthier. And there are lots of benefits to doing that. But then you've really got to look more closely at medical history. Have they got any contraindications? What have their previous pregnancies been like? Have they had any other previous pregnancies? It's a historical thing, and then starting it at like a really low level.
Right.
Walking.
Have you done it yourself, like with anybody?
Yeah.
You have, right? Okay.
There are some people that have approached us and asked us, and I've had to say no because their medical history doesn't lend itself to being like safe and effective to do that. But you've just got to be honest with people, and I think people respect your honesty.
Yeah. We just say no, like, which is unfortunately, because so say some of our weightlifting girls, we know the weights, we know we've done this, and we can then say, right, this is the exercise we're changing out, this is it. We always counter with our coaches. I mean, we've been training pregnant people for years, haven't we? We're people who get pregnant within our units.
But we message me, what did you change?
What did
you do?
And it's like exactly what we're telling you. Yeah.
I could talk about this for ages because I feel like it'd be interesting actually talking about it more, because I always feel like it's every single body is different anyway, and I think everybody's pregnant body is different, because there's things that some people would do that I personally wouldn't. Yeah. And vice versa. Do you know what I mean?
I couldn't agree with that more. Everybody is completely different, and not every pregnancy is the same for the same person. Yeah. So my first pregnancy, I exercised all the way through. I was doing press-ups the day I went into labour, and I was absolutely fine. No complications or anything. With my second pregnancy, I was on bed rest from 20 weeks because I had a condition that meant I was contracting. Not Braxton Hicks, real contractions, and they had to make sure that it didn't progress into labour.
From 20 weeks?
From 20 weeks, I had to stay in bed. So obviously I had to do the school run, but that was as much as I did. And that's the first time in my whole life that exercise has been taken away from us. And the effect that it had on my mental well-being was pretty profound. And from the day Bobby was born, all I could think about was I need to move my body. I need to Simon said, I got up and I was like, right, come on, you'll have to help us get ready. And then I'd said to him, go ask the midwives if they'll change the bedding. And he went round and he said, she was asking, would you come and change the bed? And I said, oh, we will in a few hours, and we'll come round and get her up and get her showered. And they were like, no, she's up and she's ready and she's showered. Can you come and do it now? And it was all because I knew that he was out now and he was safe. And that phase was over. I was like, now I can't wait to move my body. It was like a switch.
Right.
So there's one person, two completely different experiences of exercise and pregnancy, two totally different pregnancies. So yeah, it's a minefield.
Right. And how did your body respond to exercise? Did you exercise straight away, or did you just you listen to your own advice?
I listened to my own advice, but I just wanted to walk.
Right. Okay.
That's all I wanted. I wanted to walk with the pushchair, and I pretty much you'd start doing that straight away. I started my pelvic floor exercises properly straight away, which is all fine and well to do, but I'd been in the house, lay down or sat down for best part of 20 weeks.
That would kill me.
Can you imagine?
Well, I can imagine you being an up and go, up, and that's what we're like. And And I was in hospital for 5 days with my broken leg. I know, I knew I'd bring it up. But that killed me, like inside, like having to rely on other people and stuff. So when you said from 20 weeks onwards, that's, yeah.
When you have experiences like that, whether it's 5 days, or it's 20 weeks, or whatever it is,
yeah.
having the ability to exercise taken away from you is massive.
Yeah.
And I've never taken it for granted again.
But it's not even exercise. It's just getting to, fuck, I'm this missing from the house, right? I'll just go out, quickly get it. I'll go walk the kids to school, whatever else.
Fresh air.
Fresh air, yeah. Just sat in one room. And people love working from home, which is mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it is, it's crazy. Fucking hell, that was a good one.
There you go.
So, boxing.
Oh, I love it.
Like, is that been a new thing, or?
Yeah, well, one of the first courses that I ever did when I qualified was Boxercise.
Boxercise, yeah.
Did that in
which has been one of the biggest brands ever.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, and I remember going there. I must have been 17, I think, when I did that. Really enjoyed the course. Taught a lot of boxing circuits and stuff when I was younger. And then it's just something that kind of went by the wayside a little bit. I ended up doing more, like PT, like different things. But I'd always wanted to get back into it. I love the sport. I love watching the sport.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, and it happens that one of my good friends from when I was younger, Tony Jeffries, he had gone over to America and he'd started his own gym, Box and Burn.
But he was coaching some of the MMA.
And he's had loads of celebrities in that gym in LA, and loads of big fighters and big names. And he made a certification course.
Right.
To teach boxing fitness, and I wanted to refresh my skills. So I did that, and I just fell back in love with it again, and people love it. Everybody wants to feel like they can throw a decent punch. So I've no desire ever to step in a ring with anyone.
Right.
I've no desire to want to train anyone to do that. It's
not even with all these charity things. No.
No, and believe me, I've been asked, listen, this nose is just a sitting duck waiting. It's already broken at the minute. Right. It needs no other bashing.
Yeah.
I've no desire to train clients to go and do those things. It's purely boxing fitness, and using boxing as a way to improve your mental well-being, your physical health, and it has so many benefits, and I love it.
Yeah. So have you got many people doing it?
Yeah, loads. So all one-to-one.
Right.
I do one small group a week, and I train a husband and wife as well. So
I've seen them on your Instagram.
Yeah, they're so cool. But people just love it, and it's great to see people's progress, as they learn the skill and get more confident. But the thing people say about boxing is, more than anything else, it's really good for their mind, because when you're learning how to box, you have to be really mentally present.
Right.
It's not like, say, if you're doing, let's say, squats or running on a treadmill or whatever, your mind can wander, but your body can still perform the function.
Right.
When you're boxing, you have to be so present and switched on. You can't think about anything else. So if you've had a really stressful day, or you've got something you're worried about, you will forget about that for at least 30 minutes.
Because they don't actually realise the training when they're doing the box. I mean, we used to do a lot of pad work, didn't we? And then just stopped. But just, I don't know, to have the time with it, isn't it? It was the time, because we would, I was doing all the coaching of the other sessions, and I was doing the one-to-one pads as well. I mean, they were mint, weren't they? We really enjoyed them. We had them in the sessions, and we started getting complex with the combos.
Yeah.
But then when you're trying to teach 16 people and they're like this, aren't they? But they get it.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard in a big group. So when I do my small group on a Wednesday, I take like 5 or 6 max.
Right.
But it's only for people who've done at least 4 weeks of one-to-one first, so that when I go jab, hook, or ask them for a particular combination, they know what I'm talking about. Right. So there's a level of understanding.
Do you do the small group from yours as well?
Yeah.
Do you? Mint? That's excellent.
I don't really leave the house much.
Oh, do you not?
Coming here has been like a day out. Yeah, I don't leave the house much.
Right. So everything's just set up in...
Everything's set up. So we've got like a little bungalow type thing. at the end of the garden.
Yeah.
And I run my sessions from there. It just fits with the kids.
Of course it does.
You know what I do miss? I loved my days of being on like a busy gym floor.
Right.
And when I used to be PTing at what's now David Lloyd.
Yeah.
That used
The Health and Racket there.
Yeah, the Health and Racket, good old Health and Racket. There was nothing better than a Monday night on the gym floor.
Right, okay.
You know, like the tunes were up,
Uh-huh.
like everybody's there, like it was a mint atmosphere, taking you out back to back with clients. I love gym floor PT.
Dear.
But the models and the way that it runs now has changed, like in
Right.
every operator. So back in the day, it was you'd pay a certain amount of rent, and then
Yeah.
you could work with as many clients as you wanted, and you were self-employed. And the model at that club changed to bringing people in, and you had to be employed, and
Okay.
there was taking bigger cuts of your session fees and things like that.
Right.
And it's different. It depends what operator you go to. I was actually talking about this on an industry panel last week, and how do we trying to help find a solution as to how do we welcome as many good PTs into the industry with the right business model as possible.
Right, okay.
And I would love to go back to a gym floor maybe at some point, but right now I'm happy in my own little bubble. And a lot of my clients are quite private people.
Yeah.
And the thought of being on a gym floor, I think maybe wouldn't suit them. But
I think if you're getting personal, a private setting.
yeah,
That to me, because I like, when I seen you, all the rest of it on the gym floor, I said to myself, I never want to do this. But that's because I didn't like, because I'll say back then, all I seen was the PTs who were the flash people, like lads, this is lads by the way, like talking to, I know it sounds kind of stereotypical, but talking to the hot blonde on the floor.
oh yeah, that was definitely a thing.
Instead of trying to get clients, they thought that was, like, there was sort of this,
Especially at the Health and Racket Club.
they thought there was the celebrity within the gym, which they probably
Kind
were.
of were.
Yeah.
And it's a really different way of looking at it for girls and boys.
Yes, yeah, of course it
So
will
at the
be.
time, I was the only girl there.
Right.
And yeah, like girls did fancy the male PTs.
Did they?
Like,
Yeah.
and they were like kind of.
It was like the hot barman on holiday.
Yes, it was, and it's just different for girls. Like, but I did love those times.
Did you?
But I am happy in my nice little training room now. Yeah, it's nice.
I think like because half our coaches are like self-employed, and I think we've nailed it in what we offer them. So we pay them for the hours they work for us, but then they get free rent as well.
Yeah.
And it's like they've got always got hours with us, but then they can grow as much as you want, because I don't know if you know our model, but like out between 10 till 4:30, there's nobody here.
Yeah.
And that's only Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. There's actually nobody in these units.
Yeah.
So the PTs can do as much and whatever they want. It's hard for them to wrap their head around it sometimes, but yeah, because some of them have, like Joe, he was paying £400 a month rent somewhere. Luke was going to be paying that, wasn't he? But he moved across. So yeah.
And it's good here that there are places where there's flexibility, because in a lot of large chains and operators, this is our model, this is how we operate. So say if somebody was coming into the fitness industry at a time in their life where they've already got maybe a mortgage, a family, etc. It's not the easy transition that it was for me at 16, 17, living at home. Like, it's harder. So for me to say pay 400 quid a month back then, well, you know what, if I have a month where everything just goes a bit to shit, it doesn't matter because I'm at home with my mum.
Yeah.
It's all right. But that wouldn't be the case for someone entering the industry, like maybe later in life. So if there isn't a model to support that person, potentially the industry's missing out on a really good trainer just because the business model isn't right.
And they've probably got, even if they had 10 years of gym experience themselves, that's going to be more than somebody who is 16 who's just done that 6-week online course. So
just because the operator hasn't got a model that works for that individual may never flourish and be the amazing PT that they could have potentially been, or because there's no flexibility on the model.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked out with Tommy, hasn't it? Tommy's one of our coaches. He's got 3 kids. He's went from being an electrician to jumping into this, and he's mentally, he's really gets involved with them all. And
if you were really rigid on your way of doing things, he might never have had that opportunity to fly.
And he wanted to work for free as well. He says, can I come work for free just for some experience? He says, I've got all this years of gym experience. He's 30. Is Tommy 30? He is, isn't he? Is he 30? Shit.
I want to say he's older than me.
But no, I think he's 30. But he's 30, he's got 3 kids, wife, all the rest of it. And it's like, he wanted to work. That's how much he wanted it. He wanted to come in for free. But he had all that powerlifting experience as well, all the rest of it. He has done his courses, and then he's jumped in, and he's excellent. So we'll buzz with that.
Yeah, I'm
singing my own praises here.
But no, it's good. Actually, I've got I'm doing another podcast about the same topic, like an industry one.
Brilliant.
So I might just use RT Fitness as a nice little case study of how it can work.
Because it can. I think all of these places can do that. I don't know why not. It's like, I know a lot of places actually do where, like, as long as they remember, you can train them for free. Mm-hmm. I've heard of those plans from places. I'm sure it was... No, Alex wasn't. It was one of them.
It's money. It's money. That's why.
It is.
That's why, because the bigger places want a bigger cut.
I know. And then when the PTs are charging you 25... Well, less now. They're charging less than what they were 10 years ago. They've dropped I'm saying personal trainers drop the prices because of the level of them.
The session fees.
Yeah, the session fees, which is quite sad, especially if they're really good. But now if you're taking 400 quid away and you're only charging £20 an hour, you're actually getting probably less than minimum wage.
Oh yeah, I mean there's some models where by the time you've taken off your tax, you've taken off like your public liability insurance, which you've still got to pay for yourself, and all of those sorts of things, like it boils down to very little for something that's a massive skill, and as you well know, has the ability to, this is like a cliche saying, but to change somebody's life, like significantly.
Yeah. Of course it does. Like you get, yourself, you get someone to lose 40 pounds or something, they're fit, they can, no bad knees, no bad backs. It has changed
and
their
it's
life.
not just about the 40, like as you know, it's not just the £40, it's like how they feel in their relationship, how productive they are at work, how much energy they've got with their kids. That stuff's worth more than like minimum wage, 100%.
Of course it is, and it is. We know that, all that. Right.
Can I ask
jump in.
Yeah. Just sitting here and trying to... Do you feel, because I sometimes think, do you feel like coaches and PTs are quite an undervalued profession from the general public?
I'm going to have a city on the fence answer here a little bit. Yes and no. I think if the general public is undervaluing the trainer, it's for probably one of two reasons. Number one, they're not fully aware of what the capabilities of the trainer are and how they can impact their life. So lack of real understanding. But two, I think it's maybe because the trainers have allowed them to undervalue them because they haven't priced themselves appropriately.
Yeah.
Or they haven't demonstrated their value, as in with their the information that they provide to people. But I think the price is the main one. Would you ever value something as much at 15 quid as you would if it was 50?
Yeah.
You know that you would value the thing that you spend more on more.
Yes.
So a lot of it, I think, is perceived, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question? I don't know. Yeah.
Whenever people ask us for the price, and then we say the price of our program, it's like, well, I'm joining this gym for 20 quid a month. Mm-hmm. That's what people do. They're just comparing, and it's probably the same with PT. It's like, oh well, me Sheila down the street, her son's doing them a tenner an hour.
Well, champion.
Yeah.
Like that's all right.
Yeah.
Like there is room for everyone. There's room for like the lower price stuff. There's room for the higher price stuff. But I do believe in fitness. It is you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Somebody told us. I had an inquiry last week. This guy was super keen. Really wanted to train with us. Seeing all my content, seeing all my videos, all the rest of it. have you got your prices? As soon as somebody asks me, as soon as their first question is, what's your prices? I know how that conversation's going to end.
Yeah.
It's going to end in, I'm not the person for you, and that's all right. When somebody comes to us with, I've seen your stuff, you've helped me friend, or wants to talk more about their goals and get a little bit deeper, then 9 times out of 10, I know we're going to work together because that person's already seen the value in what I do.
Right.
They've not just looked and gone, time, money, some Sheila's son down the road, is it? It's all it's all around value, and it's all around where the client is in terms of readiness to change, I think, as well.
We find that every time. Like, there's this thing where people message the page, like our business pages, and if they just say how much ?
Don't even
like,
say hi.
Just say
HM ?
You are joking.
No, not at all. Like,
I can honestly say that's never happened to
Has
me
it
before.
not?
Never.
We can say we get how much at least 3 times a week.
So I was looking
at
it,
least.
HM, what's HM?
We had to figure out what HM was like when it
You have
first
to
came.
Google it.
I didn't Google it. It was like, that's what it means. So all I ever messaged back to them, the program is this price. What else do you need to know? And they don't message back after that. We actually have had actually some people sign up, like, because I'll say, what information do you need after that? And most of them like, no, it's okay, or don't message back. But then some people actually do message back.
So there's never a, hi, how are you?
No.
I'd like to inquire. Is it not just
We sometimes get that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously some people are quite polite.
Wow.
I mean, we've had people for a job text me, have you got a job? Another person, looking for a personal trainer job, and then emojis, like smiley emojis and that. Texting for a job.
Oh, goodness me. That's been an education for me. I can honestly say that's never happened. But I'm pleased I know what HM means now.
Yeah, HM, it's mad, isn't it? Like, I mean, I think probably it's because people see us as, some people just see us as a gym rather than a program based, because it basically is personal training what we offer, even if it is in a group scale or a small group scale what we do, but it is personal training. They get a weekly nutrition check-in every single week, like from Sarah. It's so much in, but they just see it as gym membership, that.
But again, it goes back to perceived value, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I mean, we do have a lot of clients, so it is working. But the whole, oh God, right.
That's like 3-hour podcast all of its own,
it
isn't
is, yeah. Right then, let's do Knox Sports Bras, because this is new, isn't it?
This is new,
Brand new, right? Yeah.
So for the last 20 years,
right,
I've listened to women talking about how their boobs feel during exercise.
Right.
And about what they like about sports bras and what they don't.
Okay.
So it gets mentioned in classes, it gets mentioned in PT sessions. I've had clients turn up wearing 3 bras because one is just not enough. Like, all of these different things. And I really wanted to create something that was going to support women properly during their workouts, but also with design elements that eliminate all of those problems. Like, sometimes you'll hear people, this might be a bit of an education here for you, Russell.
It is, yeah.
Say, when I've done a sweaty workout, it's really hard to pull my sports bra up and over my head, because it's like peeled onto us, and I kind of get it off.
I have to peel yours off sometimes, don't I?
So for them, a zip front would be better.
Oh,
They're going to
right,
unzip
okay.
it and take it off that way.
Right.
Yeah? Somebody with shoulder mobility issues would struggle with the over the head.
Right.
Some people want a sports bra that can take them all the way through, like breastfeeding times and everything. So
Right.
the wrap front is perfect for that.
A what?
A wrap front.
Okay.
See, I told you it'd be an education.
Yeah.
That's all of the stuff behind the actual bra. But Knox has another arm to it where I want to do things that support women outside of just being a bra. So talks, seminars, charity angles, like lots of different things that like helps women, not just supporting their boobs during the workout, but supports them in their life as well.
Right. Meant? Is it launched?
Not yet.
Okay, right.
I've just sort of posted about it this week on Instagram.
Was that it? Just this week?
Just this week. So we're going to be documenting the journey.
Right, okay.
So the range plan's done.
Yeah.
All the branding's done. We're just in the process of going through the fitting now to make sure that all the sizing's right.
Right.
So I'm going to take everyone on the full journey to launch with us, and then they'll be there and ready to go.
One of the best posts we had in the group, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the like in our private group, so all of our members are in there. She'd only start. Did she start it? It was only this year. It was only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Somebody who brand new starter literally wrote in the group was like.
Wasn't a brand new starter.
Oh, was it not?
No, it wasn't.
Who was it?
She's been with us ages, and she says, I need like big boob girls. I need a supportive bra. Help us out. And I've never seen so much interaction in the
group. We're like, because it's
the lads were jumping in and everything.
even the lads jumped in. Oh, what did one of the lads say? Sadie the bra lady.
Sadie the bra lady, well famous. But you've got all these things, like these factors to consider. Like you've got people with a small back but big boobs.
Yeah.
You've got people with a little boobs who still want a nice looking sports bra. Like you've got over the head, shoulder mobility, all of these things.
I took Sarah's boobs away, didn't I?
Well, I've still got them. Small back, big boobs.
Yeah.
Forced baby boobs are horrific. I just want a nice looking. I want them to look good as well. I always feel like I have to like go away from the support element to fit me boobs, because then the band doesn't fit me back. But then I end up having to get the ones with pins at the back and the shit.
Yeah. And you want one that is equally nice under a vest or whatever, as looks nice with on its own, or maybe something that can even cross over between being a functional thing for fitness and being something that you might just wear with jeans and like a little something over the top. So hopefully we've ticked all those boxes. That's the plan.
Good. Mint. So right, what advice would you say to someone starting out in the fitness realm?
It's really hard now.
Right.
It's so much harder than it was like when I started 20 years ago. I think you've got to be prepared probably to work harder than ever.
Right.
To get started now, because the industry is so saturated. But there are also more people that need our help. So the state of the nation's health is worse than it's ever been. So there are more people that need help. But now I think PT and like group fitness, well, everything is, how do I say this? It's more accessible than it's ever been for more people.
Right.
Not just because there's more, but because people do value it more.
What value?
Like value the health and fitness more. So back when I started, when I was like 16, 17, fitness was like a luxury. And when I became a PT, when I was 20, 21, I only trained people really. So back when I started, when I was 16, 17, fitness was something that was seen as a bit of a luxury.
Yeah.
So a lot of my PT clients were more people that had like really high level jobs,
especially personal training was a luxury, wasn't it?
Lots of disposable income. Whereas now I think people see it as much more as a necessary thing rather than a luxury.
Right, yeah.
So if you enter in the industry now, there are many more people that are looking for health and fitness services than there were back then.
Yeah.
And there are lots more people that need health and fitness services now than they did back then. So there is the opportunity there. I think you've just got to be prepared to really put the work in and graft hard. And I do think that it's now not good enough to just be a good trainer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You have to be a bit of a jack of all trades. You do need to know your way around social media and content creation, without a doubt.
In sales.
In sales, you need to be a good salesperson. You need to know how to market things. You need to know how to run a website. You've just got to you've got to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Video editor.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? All these
you
little
name
bits,
it,
isn't it?
In all of the things that most businesses have lots of people to do all of these things.
Your own accountant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to do, so a big business will have a finance department, a content creation department, a website designer and developer. In fitness, when you first start out, you have to be all of those things yourself. So it's not just enough, unfortunately, to be a really good trainer who's great with people and helps people get results. You have to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife.
Mad, isn't it? It is. I mean, obviously we're seeing that with our lads, like our coaches now, like we're really just trying to help them, like you've got to post this, Twitter, this, It's like that's not even about coaching.
Even if you hate it,
yeah,
you have to do it. Otherwise, unfortunately, somebody who isn't as good as you will bypass you on that front and end up busier than you just because they feel more comfortable in front of a camera.
It's never the best now, it's the most known.
It's the loudest voice.
Yeah.
The face you see the most.
Yeah.
I've had it happen with me where people have said, if I'll say, like, how did you end up coming to me? They'll say, because I've been thinking about doing something and I see your face on social media all the time. So when I thought, I'm ready now, you were the first person I thought of.
And that's a good, but you've won.
Which is
great.
Like,
you know what I mean, yeah.
Because I don't mind doing all that stuff, but I understand that it's not for everyone. You've just got to really force yourself through those early stages. And your first videos that you make, you'll always cringe. But there's that like famous saying, isn't there?
Don't we? Yeah.
If you don't look back and cringe at the things you did 5-10 years ago, then you haven't made any progress.
Got to cringe at stuff a year ago.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
You've got to grow and move on from it, yeah.
Like, the thing is, like, even say when we first started this, I went into this actually quite confident. I was like, fuck it, I'm just posting it. I don't have to look at it after that. As long as it's out there, and that's it, and I'm doing it. And that's it. Like, I've posted loads of shit over my life. Probably a lot. I probably look back and shit I shouldn't have, but hey, it is. It is what it is, but you just got to keep getting through it.
Gives you something to grow from, and if you do watch it back, you'll think, oh, I said like I know it when you post this and I watch it back, I'll go like that because I'm all hands. So I try and sit like that a bit.
Right, okay.
But you just learn. You just learn from watching.
I say yeah on these. And and every time I've been saying it earlier in this, and I was going, yeah. And I was like, I'm fucking saying it again.
I look up for my answer, and I drag it from my brain, and then I give it to you like that.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
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 Right, and so, second off, last one. What advice would you give to someone wanting to live a leaner, healthier lifestyle? Just a healthy life, really.
Try and find balance.
Right.
Which is much harder to do in practice than it is to say in theory. I think over the way the fitness industry has changed over the years, it went through a phase where it was everything had to be perfect.
Right.
Like every meal that you ever ate has to be absolutely perfect, and ideally it'll come out of a Tupperware box, and it'll only be chicken, rice and broccoli. And if you have not stuck rigidly to being perfect in a day, then you might as well just write that off as a bad day and you're a failure. Right? There was a time in the industry when that was the way the whole industry was really pushing towards. And I think as a result of that, people feel that if not everything about their day was perfect, that they've failed.
Right.
So let's say, for example, we'll use easy numbers, that your recommended calorie intake for you personally, based on your health and fitness goals, is 2,000 calories a day. That's 14,000 over a week.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect at 2,000 every day to be a success. You might have 2,500 one day, but then you might undereat by 500 the next day. And across those 7 days, you've achieved balance. You've still consumed the same amount of calories. Your outcome is going to be the same.
Yeah.
And if you missed a workout 1 week, but you did 2 the next week, it's more about, I would say to people, look at the bigger picture to help you find that balance, rather than thinking that your success or your failure is going to be measured on day by day. Does that make sense?
100%. I could really go into that.
I feel really strongly about that subject.
Yeah.
I think the fitness industry in many ways is to blame.
Right.
For how
But when the clients fail, or?
For how clients feel that they've failed.
Right.
For not just clients, the general population, because there's social media, historically where there's been times that the fitness industry's maybe missed the mark with its messaging.
Right.
Is all contributed.
There's been so many messages across the years.
So many messages. so much conflicting information, so much confusion. I do think we've ended at a point where people think that if they aren't doing 10,000 steps every day, hitting their calorie target to the number every day, to doing every workout that they've ever been set, and seeing like that if you haven't done that, seeing that as imperfection or failure.
Yeah.
It's if you look at you progress over a month, wow, look what you've done. And I also think we don't do enough of sitting down and thinking, well, let's look back. Where am I now to where I was a month ago, to where I was 6 months ago? We all spend so much time looking forwards at what's my next goal, what am I still to achieve? And if all we do is look at what's ahead, we're just living in a constant place of, I haven't achieved yet.
Never enough.
It's never enough. I haven't achieved yet. I haven't hit my goal. That's quite a negative place to live your whole time.
Yeah.
But if you can balance that, because it is good, everyone has to look ahead if we want to achieve things, but if you can balance that with some time where you sit and you think, instead I'm going to look backwards and just give myself a little bit of praise and a pat on the back for how far I've come, because actually I've progressed a hell of a long way, and balance that with looking forward, I think it puts you in a much better headspace.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do. Right then, we'll finish off. So where do we find you and what are you offering now?
Oh,
apart from the bras.
Yeah.
Well, not yet. It's not yet, is it? Yeah.
Bras later this year.
Yeah.
Just Katie Bulmer Cooke
right.
on everything.
Everywhere.
Yeah, on Instagram. I've had to join TikTok.
I bet you're good on TikTok.
No, I don't do the dances and stuff. I do them. My daughter Heidi does them, and I do them with her, and they're on her account. Please don't look for that account.
I'm sure I've seen Sido one. Did he do one with
Si's
that?
done one, yeah. So I had to join TikTok. So I'm just Katie Bulmer Cooke on social media platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll put some links in the thing
you.
to find you. Well, cheers, missus.
Cheers. It's been good to talk.